Hi, my name's Olivia James, and today I'm going to be going over some of the things that we learned this week in the module that we had. So, the first thing I want to talk about are some of the characteristics of individuals with intellectual disabilities. So, there's a lot of different things that can characterize of how they learn, but some of them is that they process in smaller amounts of information than the typical kid of their age. So let's say a 4 year old can understand, let's just say, 20 words in 1 minute. A kid who's at the same age with a disability may only be able to understand half of that, or maybe even a quarter. They also have difficulty using cognitive skills, such as memory and attention. So, again, let's use the 4 year old. Um, a 4 year old who does not have an intellectual disability may be able to remember and retain information a lot better than a child with an intellectual disability. Not saying that the child can't understand or retain information, because that is not true. They definitely can. It just takes a little bit longer and a little bit more patience. Um, they also can have a difficulty transferring skills from one context to another, and this is also known as generalization. So sometimes it's difficult for a child with a disability to kind of basically transfer the skills that they used in one set into another set. They don't there that crossover isn't sometimes isn't there, or it's just less than a child with not without a disability. The next thing I want to talk about is the range of educational goals that may be appropriate for an individual with intellectual disabilities. And there's a couple of them. There's the core academic curriculum, which would basically be the core curriculum. Everything from math, reading, writing, if you're older, social studies, all those different things. Then there's also functional academics, which is based academic skills such on reading, writing, and arithmetic taught in context of real life or community activities. So this would not be, let's sit in a classroom and read chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is more like, let's get out there into the community and basically integrate those lessons that could be learned in the classroom in the real life, so that these kids can learn something but also be a part of the community and all the community activities that they want and slash need to be a part of. There's also a life skill curriculum, and basically that's what it's doing is it's getting the child or young adult ready for the real life. So these are skills that these kids desperately need. And I definitely think there should be more classes and things like this, because they need this kind of stuff. Whether that be anything really, they just need it. They need to learn, how to cook, how to clean up their house, how to clean themselves, because some kids with intellectual disabilities sometimes, could even lack that. And it might seem easy for us to understand, but it really isn't. This is really a challenge for them. We also have transitional programs, which this consists of educational experiences that address the movement of schools and work from home to independent community living. So basically, what this is taking core academic and changing that into life skill curriculum. Basically, you are trying to get the things that you learned from school to make sense in the real world for these kids and these young adults. So the third thing I want to talk about is the importance of the community as an educational setting for individuals and intellectual disabilities. This is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, because it is so important. Like, it takes a village to raise a child, and it's so important, especially with kids with intellectual disabilities, to have the community rally around them and really embrace them for everything that they are, which are just amazing kids. And that's basically, that could be from placing students in job settings that are found in their local community. Like, there are so many times where it just warms my heart when I see kids with intellectual disabilities working at a supermarket or working somewhere that they love, and they just, you can see it in their eyes. They love it. They love the stuff they do. It also provides opportunities for functional application for basic skills. So this teaches them, how to manage their money, how to do all the things that they need to do to become basically a working member in society. And that's the goal. That's the goal for all kids when we're in school, is to how can we get you from school to college to the real life. And, college, not even maybe, which is okay. It also provides activities useful for teaching functional life skills. So, like I said, with the application of basic skills, this teaches them how to live their lives, and they're going to have to. This is something they're going to have to do. Um, so, the last thing I want to talk about is the methods and materials that can be used to help intellectual. The method and materials that can be used to help students with intellectual disabilities achieve their learning potential. Um, Along with the last bullet that I just spoke about, this is probably another one of my favorite things, because um, it's so important that we cater to the kids that we have in our lives. And if that is a kid with a disability, then we should be challenging ourselves and them to make sure that they have the best access to education as possible. And that's what, as educators, that's what we're trying to do. So there's task analysis, which is basically just taking the task and breaking it down. So instead of saying, John Doe, get me a piece of paper, a pencil, two highlighters, and a snack, you can say, hey, John, can you just get me a highlighter, one highlighter, any your choice too. You pick the color and everything like that. It gives them that one thing, and go step by step with them and say, oh, or maybe do say the color. Can I have a blue highlighter? And they bring you an orange highlighter. Say, this was really great. Thank you so much for the highlighter. You got that step down, but now can we go try to find that blue highlighter that I wanted so badly? And just watch them. They'll surprise you so much. They can do it. Another thing is prompts. So these clues and guides to help them know what to do and how to answer correctly. So you could say, for example, we could say, okay, so I have this makeup, right? So you could say, hey, which is not be in a class and all, but so this makeup, John, what do you think makeup does? What do you think the purpose of makeup is? You know what I mean? And take that in any aspect you can with teaching and stuff like that. This is just right in front of me, so I just figured I would use this as an example. But what do you think makeup does? Let's say they say, you can paint with it. And be like, okay, that's really close. It's kind of like painting. It's kind of like art. What do you think you do with makeup? Where do you think you put it? Stuff like that. You're prompting them for success. You are literally giving them as much clues as you can without giving them the answer. And then hopefully they'll get to the point where they'll say, oh, this makeup you put on your face. You know what I mean? You can use it for, X, Y, and Z. Another thing is peer tutoring or peer support, which is, I think teaching kids is just amazing. So you basically tell this child, maybe who doesn't have a disability or maybe who does, kids, that's the great thing, is that, and even with teachers like that, everybody can teach everybody, you know what I mean? I don't think we should ever think that we're so all-knowing that we can't learn from students. So something that a peer tutoring might do was, you get these two children who you see can you kind of get along, and you put them down together and you have them work on one sheet at a time, and you have that child helping that other child with that intellectual disability really get there. And when they're working together as friends, it doesn't even seem like work. It just seems like a great time. Another thing we can do is teach in small groups. This is super important, especially with kids with disabilities, because they need that. First of all, they need that one-on-one time, and two, like it improves their lessons so much. So if you say, I'm gonna take 3 kids, and I'm just gonna work with them. I'm gonna work with them, just them. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to work with them, and we're gonna get what we need to get done. We're gonna get the task done, and there. It eliminates distractions. It eliminates so many things that, you know, we don't really, you know, need, especially with a kid with an intellectual disability. So we can also teach one concept at a time. So that's the same thing that goes back to, prompting clues one step at a time. Only go through one thing at a time. If you want to do math, don't go through multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Just do addition. Um, so you can also provide ample opportunities for practice. So this is basically practicing, but not over practicing. And practice makes perfect, but it gets to a point where you're practicing too much, and one, they're not enjoying it, and two, they're not really retaining any information. So this would be, you know, we want them to practice as much as they can. So let's say if with life skills and they're trying to learn how to cook, they mess up on an egg the first time, the second time, the third time, but they've got to keep on going because at the end of the day, they need to know how to make that egg. Um, and use teach skills that are meaningful and can be practiced office. That's my last thing I want to talk about. Is basically just, you know, we can't teach these kids with intellectual disabilities. We can't teach them, things that are not going to really pertain to their lives. You know what I mean? Like, this is a great way that we can get these children to learn as much as possible about their whole surroundings, their life, their body, how it's working, um, their spatial recognition, like all these different things that they need to learn is what we can be teaching them. And we kind of need to cut out the things that are the skills that are not going to really be helping them and put in the skills that are going to be helping them. And that's not the same for everyone. So just because student A likes this skill and is good at this skill, um, they might need it, but student B might not need it. So why are we going to teach A and B the same? So if you have any questions, please leave on the discussion board, and I'd be happy to answer them. And I hope you guys all have a great day, and I really liked this lesson. Okay, bye.